Well, here we are in ordinary time, right? We've been in ordinary time during weekdays, but now is the first time on a Saturday, Sunday weekend you've seen green. And how fitting it is green when our readings are all about growth and agriculture. I'm not an agronomist, I'm not a farmer. My wife says I can live a farmer's life only in that I get up early in the morning, but I couldn't do farmer's work, right? So be it. Sister Helen Pragine, you may have heard of her. She is a Catholic nun, a social activist, and the author of Dead Man Walking, had a few words about the subject of humility that caught my attention just the other day. And she said this: the whole thing about learning to love is to break out of the daggone ego. You know, Jesus, if people hadn't known him, you'd think he was a farmer. A farmer is humbled because the farmer obeys the seasons, puts the seed in the ground and recognizes that things have to grow and that there's a time for harvest. It's that recognition that things are going to happen outside of us, that are bigger than us, but we just play a little part. Isn't that how it is with agriculture? And you think about it, you might say, what does that have to do with my life? Well, it has everything to do with our lives. It's about the worth of our lives. It's like a drop of water. We are a drop of water, but there's an ocean. Or it's like a grain of sand. We are but a grain of sand, but there's a desert. How are we to be in our world, in God's world, as a drop of water? While a tiny mustard seed can grow into a great plant. You see, God uses small things to do great works. We should never think that we are too insignificant, too weak, or too flawed to be part of God's plan, for we are not any of those things. But God tells us that every drop of water, every grain of sand, has its own unique place. And it is our mission to know what that unique place is and to carry it out. But we don't have to do much work. We have to just let God do the work. God will have great things in store for us. He already has, if we are open to his will and listen to his voice. It's all about getting out of our own way, our own ego, our own self-righteousness, to let God in, to be humble, to be a little mustard seed. Or to let, like in the prophet Ezekiel saying, we can be a tender shoot that he tears off and he plants it on a lofty mountain and it becomes a majestic cedar. God's love is so powerful that he takes up our insignificance and turns it into something majestic, just like a cedar. And so it is with our spiritual life. From a small seed, our desire in even a small way to detach ourselves from the ways of our world, from the ways of our culture, we must allow God to take care of it, to allow God to grow it in its fullness. We must shatter the illusion to think that it is up to us to control the coming of God's kingdom. That is what our Sundays in ordinary time are all about, the coming of God's kingdom. God's ways are not our ways. We must be patient and humble and let God be God. And so, my brothers and sisters, plant the seed, do some nurturing. Jesus will take care of it. Be close to him. Be in prayer. Be a good disciple in living your life outside the noise, but being a loving influence to others. So as we continue with the Eucharist, we ask God for the gift of patience to allow Him to grow and develop us spiritually in the way that the kingdom of God can best be built.